What do you mean they feared looking uncultured to space civilizations, so they put a great ascension cultivator inside the orbital cannon? Sure, you just transmigrated. But you cannot celebrate. You literally just watched one of our massive starships get vaporized by a single enemy blast. But wait, what? What do you mean the pilot wiped out the entire enemy fleet? Rewind. 1 month. You had just transmigrated, still sorting through your memories, but staring at the fleet outside your window, shock quickly turned to pure adrenaline. An interstellar crusade. Defending humanity. Sailing the cosmos. Isn't this every tech geek's ultimate romantic fantasy? Suddenly, a mechanical voice snaps you back. Recruit C-9527. Report to the armory immediately. Collect your Breeze Type 7 armor and manual. Shaking off your excitement, you rush over. Inside the massive steel armory, rows of battlesuits glow with an eerie blue light. 10 meters of solid steel, dripping with futuristic sci-fi design. You stop in front of your designated unit, eyes instantly lighting up. The sleek curves of this Breeze Type 7 hull, this plating, the core reactor alignment, it is pure art. You are already calculating the drivetrain and weapons array in your head when a sergeant hands you a tablet. Here is your manual. You have 10 minutes to figure out the startup sequence. The faster you move out there, the longer you live. You take it with a smirk. 10 minutes is a joke. You used to code in multiple languages and rebuild lab equipment. How hard could a suit manual be? With reverent excitement, you tap the screen. You open the file. Breeze Type 7 armor, startup and operations. Perfect. Very standard. But the next second, your smile vanishes. Where are the schematics? The wiring diagrams? The energy flow charts? There is absolutely nothing of the sort. Instead, you are staring at a massive, detailed map of human meridians. Ren and Du vessels, chi pathways. Below it, a bold caption reads, Step 1. Sink your chi into your dantian. Circulate it 3 times, then channel your spiritual energy into the armor core. You stare in silence. You swipe to the next page. More meridians. You try rebooting the tablet, but feel a tiny engraved pattern on the back. As a science major, you instantly know this is not a circuit board. It is a tiny magical spirit array. Your entire worldview shatters on the spot. Is this a sci-fi universe, or just a cultivation world wearing a high-tech coat? Before you can even process this, a massive shadow looms over you. Hey rookie, why the long face? The man in the gold officer uniform is your captain, Wang Hu. He slaps your shoulder with a hearty laugh. Manuals are useless. You have to feel it. Let me show you how it is done. He steps up to a Breeze Type 7 unit. No buttons, no cables. He simply takes a deep breath and weaves a complex hand seal. Instantly, the thrusters flare to life with a brilliant blue flame, and the heavy suit hums with raw power. You stand there, completely dumbfounded. Voice commands? No. Motion sensors? No way. You stare at the blue exhaust, rapidly running thermodynamic and fluid models in your head. But here's the crazy part. Despite that massive plasma jet, the surrounding air is not hot at all. You feel absolutely zero heat. This isn't conventional physics. This is pure, externalized spiritual energy. Just as your sanity is hanging by a thread, a cold mechanical voice chimes in your head. Ding! Cognitive framework instability detected. Inefficient psionic converter detected. Initializing universal analysis and psionic transfer system. A system? Before you can even process your new cheat, a deafening siren echoes throughout the space station. Warning. High energy signature detected. Spatial warp incoming. Void restructuring detected. Hostiles have bypassed the Pathfinder's defense perimeter. All units to battle stations. Wang Hu's face goes pale. He grabs you by the collar and drags you straight toward the waiting armor. No time to explain, rookie. Get in. He shoves you into the co-pilot seat. In front of you is a panel covered in glowing alien runes. Wang Hu slams into the pilot's seat, placing his hands on a steering wheel that looks suspiciously like a magic artifact. Before you can even adjust, a relaxed, elderly voice crackles over the radio. Hey, little Wang, hold on a second. Why does the main cannon feel like it's leaking air today? You freeze. Wait, is that voice coming from inside the actual cannon? You whip your head toward the internal monitor. On the feed, a thin, white-haired old man is sitting cross-legged inside the barrel. He has a thermos in one hand while casually inspecting the steel walls. Your skin crawls. Captain, why is there a guy inside the main gun? Booting up the engines, Wang Hu replies casually. Oh, that's Elder Li. He is our fire control and energy core. You stare blankly. The fire control? Wang Hu nods. Exactly. When we fire, Elder Lee will conjure a palm lightning blast and aim it manually. You get it, but your mind is completely blown. This isn't a space mech. This is a glorified, flying cultivation treasure. And it gets worse. Wang Hu's driving is not normal either. He is stomping on a pedal-like artifact, pumping spiritual energy out at an insane speed. Golden aura surges from his body, flowing into the drive core. On the dashboard, the energy output dial is vibrating violently. Now you get it. The cannon is a nascent Soul Senior, and the engine runs on a golden core cultivator's raw sweat. This advanced space tech is literally just cultivators doing hard labor. Suddenly, the alarm blares. 3 hostiles detected. 3 rippers closing in fast. Impact in 30 seconds. 3 massive red dots are screaming toward you. System, you think. Scan our unit. Scanning breeze type 7. The next second, a holographic overlay blinks across your eyes. The 3D model is painted entirely in alarming red. Warning. Critical spiritual energy leak. Energy transmission efficiency is only 17.3%. Core array is physically incompatible. Energy drag is at 82%. Fire control operator is exhausted. Next spell, stability dropping. System evaluation. A horribly optimized, chaotic mess with atrocious energy efficiency. Your mouth twitches. This design is practically Stone Age. Meanwhile, Wang Hu is drenched in sweat, his movements visibly lagging. Over the radio, you hear Elder Lee coughing heavily. A sudden surge of duty hits you. You cannot let them suffer like this. You scan for optimization points and freeze. The joints! These stupid mechanical gears are not helping, they are actively resisting. The suit is not moving via hydraulics. It is being forced by sheer spiritual power. The steel joints fight the chi flow on every dodge and turn. Every movement is wasting tons of power. The system quickly responds. Structural defect resolved. Translating fluid dynamics and leverage physics into psionic code. Generating momentum boost rune. Converting joint resistance into forward inertia. Improving mobility. Your eyes light up. This is it. But right then, the 3 beasts close in, firing a stream of corrosive acid straight at your cockpit. Wang Hu grunts, desperately pouring in energy, but the suit is too sluggish to move. In that split second, you slam your hands onto the auxiliary panel. Captain, cut the power! Wang Hu hesitates. Cut it now? Trust me. You yell into the comms. Elder Lee, ready the cannon. Forget aiming. Fire. At maximum output. Rune translation successful. Taking manual control overrides. Instantly, the heavy resistance under Wang Hu's feet vanishes. The engine exhaust flickers and dims, but the catastrophic crash he expects does not happen. Without the brute force driving it, the mech moves like a calculated acrobat. Using pure momentum, the massive frame twists smoothly, carving a perfect fluid arc through the void of space. The acid stream grazes the cockpit window, missing by inches. A perfect dodge. Wang Hu's jaw drops. What kind of stance is that? You don't answer. You are already busy mapping Elder Lee's spell formula to a spiral trajectory. Psionic alignment complete. Elder Lee is baffled, but he pulls the trigger anyway. A ball of white-hot lightning surges forward. Instead of scattering like usual, the inner barrel runes hum, and an invisible magnetic force field tightly wraps the blast, compressing it into a dense, spinning drill of light. It avoids direct impact with the swarm, instead striking 3 precise spatial coordinate points. The void ripples softly, and then 3 miniature black holes open up, swallowing the creatures whole. Targets forcefully banished. Physical containment complete. No blood, no mess. The stars fall silent again. Wang Hu stares blankly at the empty radar, then looks at you, completely speechless. Elder Lee pops his head out on the monitor, staring at you with absolute awe. Kid, what kind of godly spell was that? Letting go of the controls, you exhale. I just optimized the power flow, sir, and put a minor spin on your spell's trajectory. With the threat neutralized, you head back to base. Neither man speaks on the trip, though they keep throwing you weird looks. Back at headquarters, Elder Lee doesn't punish you. Instead, he hands you tea. Good work, kid. You've got real talent. You are my official spell tuner now. Wang Hu slaps your back in approval. Meanwhile, up in the flagship's command center, a high-ranking commander stares at a flashing data terminal, frowning heavily. Run a diagnostic on Unit C9527. Why did their energy efficiency just spike to 93.7%? Find out. Back in the barracks, you lie awake, remembering Wang Hu's exhaustion and Elder Lee's constant coughing. You sit up, making a silent vow. You have to use science to fix this broken, exhausting setup so your comrades don't kill themselves just fighting. System, you command. Run a deep scan on the Pathfinder flagship. Scan initiated. Generating energy analysis. 5 minutes later, a massive 100-page report pops up. You read the very first page, and your vision goes dark. Pathfinder flagship energy audit. Primary core consists of a cosmic core powered by shifts of 3 tribulation stage and 36 ascension stage masters. Core array is severely degraded. Energy leak rate is 99.1%. Furthermore, 95% of that power is wasted on aesthetic hull glow, cosmetic thruster tails, and dynamic star maps on the bridge. The tribulation stage elders have worked non-stop for 1,200 years. Reserves are critical. System evaluation. A junk pile powered by senior sweat. A spacecraft barely running, in desperate need of a technical overhaul. You stare in silence. So, this massive, majestic-looking mothership wastes most of its energy just to look intimidating. This is not just a problem with a single battlesuit. The energy logic of the entire system has completely failed. You take a deep breath, stand up, and head to the medical bay. A faint herbal scent fills the air. Wang Hu lies on a restoration bed, covered in green healing patches that gently nourish his meridians. Seeing you walk in, he manages a weak smile. Xiao Su, here to check on my recovery? You sit down beside him. Brother Wang, are you okay? Just the usual, Wang Hu says, waving his hand. High-intensity missions drain too much spiritual energy, leaving my meridians damaged. A few days of rest and some healing fluid will fix me up. You look around. The medical bay is filled with other pilots in the exact same state of total exhaustion after high-intensity combat. Your determination to upgrade the suits hardens. Leaving the medical bay, you skip your cultivation training and head straight to the armor maintenance bay. The massive maintenance hangar is where C-9527, the Windbreeze Type 7, sits quietly. You do not touch the core arrays yet, they are too complex and interconnected. Instead, your gaze locks onto the outer plating. You run a system analysis on external spiritual energy loss during high-speed flight, waiting for the system to generate the results. The outer casing fits basic aerodynamics, but at high speeds, friction with cosmic dust and spiritual particles creates 12% extra resistance. You nod. It is not just the internal systems wasting energy, the outer shell is burning through spiritual power during flight as well. You grab a rune carving knife from your toolbox, applying fluid dynamics models to spiritual energy flow to design a drag-reducing diversion array. Transfer successful. In the next second, a complex runic blueprint made of countless fluid streamlines flashes in your mind. It lacks the beautiful symmetry of traditional arrays, looking more like a modern fluid mechanics chart. With a flick of your wrist, you carve the first curve onto the shin plating. There are no flashy light shows or energy bursts, just a clean, perfectly deep physical groove. Just then, a mechanic comrade from the next bay walks over, curious. Xiao Su, what kind of rune is this? It doesn't look like yin-yang or the 4 symbols, and it is completely asymmetrical. You patiently explain, this isn't for aesthetics. When high-speed air flows over this section, this curvature creates a tiny pressure difference, guiding the boundary layer to flow smoothly and reducing turbulent eddies to lower drag. He listens, completely dazed. Though he does not understand a word, he feels it is incredibly advanced. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, he mutters, backing away silently, afraid of disturbing your focus. But what shocks everyone even more is that you do not stop there. You scrape off all the glowing honor arrays on the armor's shell. Aside from making the suit look flashy in the dark, these arrays do absolutely nothing but waste valuable spiritual energy. An hour later, the once dazzling blue Windbreeze suit is transformed into a dull, gray, completely inconspicuous chunk of steel. Yet, you look at it with absolute satisfaction. Low profile, highly efficient, and practical. But just then, an angry voice barks from behind you. Who is responsible for maintaining armor? C-9527. You turn to see a middle-aged logistics supervisor in a white uniform, followed by several record keepers. Reporting? Supervisor, it is me, you answer calmly. The supervisor paces around the armor, his frown deepening. You modified military property without permission and scraped off the honor arrays of the 7th space station? This suit has no presence now. How does this represent our expeditionary force? Facing his interrogation, you do not panic. Reporting, Supervisor, I am doing energy optimization. Its current appearance is designed to minimize unnecessary spiritual drain. The supervisor sneers. To save a tiny bit of energy, you throw away our military image? You reply calmly, Supervisor, practice is the sole test of truth. During tomorrow's flight test, I guarantee that while completing the exact same maneuvers, This armor will save over 50% more energy than the standard model. Save half? The supervisor gasps, then glares at you. Young man, do not make promises you cannot keep. You nod. If I fail, I will accept full disciplinary action. The supervisor is silent for a moment, then snorts. Fine. Tomorrow, the entire logistics department will be watching. I want to see how you save 50%. As he leaves, the surrounding mechanics cast doubtful but curious glances. However, you simply ignore them and continue checking the diversion arrays. The next morning, everyone gathers at the test site. But just as the flight test is about to begin, a piercing alarm suddenly echoes across the entire airspace. Red alert. Sector Beta 7 is experiencing a massive spatial disturbance. A gamma-ray burst accompanied by a heavy meteor storm is rapidly approaching. All units, evacuate immediately. Above the testing ground, the sky turns a deep, ominous red, as countless meteors carrying high-energy radiation form a deadly barrier, closing in on the space station. The command channel barks orders for all suits to activate their golden defensive barriers immediately and hold position. Dozens of Windbreeze suits deploy their shields as meteors crash into them, triggering massive energy ripples. Pilots strain to pour spiritual energy into their shields. This is no longer a test, it is an emergency disaster defense. In the middle of the chaos, a weak distress signal breaks through the public channel. Help! This is the civilian transport vessel, Dawn. Our engines have failed during warp, and our shields are about to collapse. We are trapped at the edge of the meteor storm. Please rescue us. The radio falls dead silent. Everyone knows that entering a meteor storm in this environment is suicide. But in the next second, a calm voice speaks up. I will go. Everyone turns to look as the gray suit, C9527, cuts its power-hungry shield. Its engine thrusters glow with a faint blue light. Inside the cockpit, Wang Hu yells in panic, Su Ming, this is suicide! You look at him calmly. Brother Wang, trust me. Just use 1/3 of your normal output and keep it steady. Wang Hu looks at the raging meteor storm outside, then at your steady gaze. Gritting his teeth, he nods. All right, I trust you. The next second, under everyone's shocked gazes, C9527 plunges into the sea of meteors. In the command center, the supervisor's face turns pale. He actually turned off his shields, yet no one expected what would happen the moment the suit made contact with the interstellar wind. Those random scratches everyone laughed at begin to glow with a soft light. The glow flows smoothly along the wind, sliding across the armor like water ripples. While violent turbulence slams into other suits' shields with crushing force, the impact on C9527 is completely dispersed by your diversion arrays, even transforming into a slight thrust. The armor does not fight the storm, it flows with it. When turbulence hits the left, it glides right. Faced with dense meteors, it channels gravitational pulls to carve smooth arcs. As oncoming debris closes in, the suit twists and slips through tight safety gaps. It is like a fish swimming effortlessly upstream against a waterfall, finding the most efficient path. Inside the cockpit, Wang Hu is utterly speechless. His foot on the pedal feels incredibly light, as if he is barely trying. He looks down at the console. Spiritual energy output, 28%. Speed, 3,200 kilometers per hour. Wang Hu is in shock. Before, pushing maximum power barely kept him stable or breaking 1,000. Now, at under 30% power, his speed has tripled. Is this your pressure difference and boundary flow? You stare straight ahead, speaking calmly. Simply put, do not fight the storm. Use its own strength. Within minutes, C9527 reaches the Dawn. The transport captain reports frantically, Our engines are completely jammed. We cannot move. The standard rescue is a spiritual tractor beam, but deploying a high-power array in this heavy meteor storm is way too risky. You decide instantly. Brother Wang, fire the physical tow cable. A heavy metal cable shoots out, locking tightly onto the Dawn's hull. Wang Hu grimaces. She is too heavy. Can we even pull her? We can, you reply, tapping a command on your auxiliary control panel. Along the cable, tiny runes light up one by one, forming a mechanical force multiplier. The lever array activates. You offer a brief explanation. Think of it as a pulley system. Wang Hu does not fully understand, but he does not hesitate. He bumps his output to 40%. In the next second, to the sheer disbelief of the Dawn's crew, the massive transport ship is slowly pulled out of its dangerous orbit. The suit does not fight the weight. Instead, you use gravity and inertia to guide the ship out of danger, step by step. 10 minutes later, the dull gray suit, C9527, pulls the Dawn back to safety. The testing grounds fall dead silent. Everyone stares at your plain-looking armor, which shows almost zero wear and tear, then glances back at their own battered suits. Their own armor is drained and battered from brute, forcing the storm. An indescribable shock washes over them. After a tense silence, someone starts clapping. Soon, the applause builds into a roaring wave of cheers that echoes across the entire base. The rescued crew members on the Dawn press against the windows, saluting your C-9527 armor. Back in the command center, the logistics supervisor is not celebrating. He is staring at his monitors, his hands shaking as he studies your perfect energy consumption curve. After a brief pause, he spins around and rushes toward the red encrypted communicator. It is a secret S-class line he has never dared touch before. But now, he does not hesitate. He presses the button, connecting directly to the Alliance Supreme Command. The moment it connects, the supervisor's voice is tight with pure excitement. Reporting, the Pathfinder station has discovered a technology that could completely overturn our entire energy system. Back on the ground, the moment your gray suit lands, the crowd falls silent for a second. Then, a thunderous wave of applause erupts from all sides. As you climb out of the cockpit, the logistics supervisor is the first to run up to you. His earlier skepticism is completely gone, replaced by wild excitement. Su Ming, come with me to see the commander. The Supreme Commander wants to see you personally. Before you can even answer, you are whisked away to the mothership's bridge. It is not flashy like you expected, but incredibly sleek. Outside the massive windows is the silent sea of stars, and standing there is a Grand Elder. His aura is as deep as an abyss. It is Duan Hong, the Supreme Commander of the Pathfinder and a powerful High Cultivator. He turns around, studies you for a moment, and speaks warmly. Young man, the way you flew through that meteor storm was incredibly smooth and fluid, using almost no physical effort. What kind of Taoist art is that? Is it a long-lost spatial technique? The other officers stare, clearly thinking the same thing. But you shake your head calmly. Reporting, General, that was not magic. Then what was it? Duan Hong asks. You walk over to the tactical projection screen and swipe your hand. A simplified diagram of an aerodynamic wing cross-section appears, surrounded by flowing streamlines. The high-ranking cultivators stare in utter confusion. No runes, no talismans, and no enchant. Just a bunch of lines they have never seen before. You point to the diagram and begin to explain. This is fluid mechanics. When an object moves through a fluid at high speed, velocity differences create a pressure gap. By designing the outer casing to optimize this turning drag into thrust. All I did was redesign the armor's surface force path to flow with the wind instead of fighting it. You explained with total seriousness, but the Golden Core and nascent Soul generals in the audience only grew more confused. Who is Bernoulli? What kind of magic is pressure differential? Does flowing with the wind mean borrowing cosmic energy? They couldn't understand it, yet it sounded incredibly profound. More importantly, Duan Hong grasped something deeper. He stared intensely at those curved lines, his expression shifting from confusion to shock until he slowly closed his eyes. An instant later, a mystical Tao resonance rose around him. The cultivation bottleneck that had blocked him for years actually began to loosen. The ultimate truth is simple. It is not just about fighting the current, but flowing with the tide. Better to see where a force originates and where it flows than to exhaust yourself resisting it. Opening his eyes, he stared at you with newfound awe. Su Ming, this physics of yours is truly remarkable. Your lips twitched. You had only explained basic Newtonian mechanics. Yet this soul transformation general had derived an entire cultivation path from it. Right then, the system chimed in your head. Ding. Successfully spread fundamental cosmic laws to a high-tier cultivator. The Science Tao's influence is officially established. Reward unlocked. Group Spiritual Energy Resonance Algorithm synchronizes multiple independent spiritual nodes via a specific frequency to achieve constructive interference, creating a stable collective output with minimal energy loss. Your heart skipped a beat. This reward was absolutely perfect timing. But just as the tension on the bridge began to lift, a screeching red alarm shattered the quiet of the mothership. Warning. Anomalous spatial disturbance detected. Massive Zerg hive ship sighted ahead. High-intensity corrosive energy storm incoming. The main display flashed. In the deep void, a colossal rift tore open as a Zerg mothership the size of a small moon slowly emerged. Countless pores on its hull dilated, spewing a massive wave of dark green corrosive energy flooding down like a toxic monsoon straight toward the Pathfinder. Duan Hong's expression darkened as he roared, "Activate the main star array defense at maximum power." But a second later, the comms officer turned around, face white as a sheet. "General, the main array won't start. The core has been running cosmetic ship glow effects for too long. The power module is overloaded. The system is unresponsive. The bridge fell dead silent. The useless cosmetic project you called out in your report last night had backfired at the worst possible moment. To make matters worse, the tactical analyst shouted a grim update. Impact path confirmed. The storm is heading straight for the recruit barracks. That sector housed thousands of new enlistees, many of whom had not even received their standard issue combat armor yet. If that corrosive storm hit them, the slaughter would be absolute. The bridge devolved into pure chaos. Officers screamed to force reboot the array, while others suggested high-stage cultivators project a joint shield. But there was no time. While everyone panicked, you calmly locked eyes on the tactical map. The barracks sat right next to the armor training pods. A daring, borderline insane idea flashed in your mind. Instead of running to the deck, you spun around and rushed over to the main broadcast console. Step aside. You pushed past the operator and grabbed the mic. Your voice rang out, cool and steady, across the entire ship. All recruits, listen up. This is not a drill. Get into your nearest training pod immediately. Log in and connect to network C9527 Temporary Combat Network. Repeat, connect to the temporary network immediately. The barracks erupted in panic, but then someone recognized your ID. It is C9527. That is the guy who just saved the Dawn ship. Do what he says. Get inside. Survival instinct coupled with your newly earned reputation instantly crushed the panic. Thousands of recruits scrambled into their pods, linking up their terminals. Duan Hong stared at you, then barked an order to grant you full system access. Hand over all training terminal route access to Su Ming. Full ship-wide clearance granted. Group resonance algorithm loaded, virtualizing 13,700 training terminals into distributed array nodes. Temporary combat network, Guardian 01, successfully established. Instantly, the screens in front of every recruit transformed. Complex metrics and cluttered menus vanished. In their place sat a single flashing point of light and one dead simple instruction. Focus your spiritual energy on your fingertip and tap the screen in rhythm with the light. Many froze. That is it? No hand seals? No ancient pathways? Your voice cut through the comms. Do not hesitate. Stop. And just like that, tens of thousands of raw recruits reached out their fingers and tapped the rhythm, channeling their energy into the terminals. Normally, dumping that much chaotic, unfiltered raw energy into the system would cause a massive backfire and a total crash. But with your algorithm running, every tiny trickle of energy was perfectly aligned and synchronized. No collisions, no waste, no overload. It was like 10,000 chaotic creeks guided by flawless channels into a single, massive reservoir. The next second, just as the corrosive storm was about to incinerate the barracks, a golden shield erupted over the hull. It was not a standard dome, but a massive honeycomb structure woven from perfect hexagons. No flashy magical runes or over-the-top visual effects, just pure, beautiful, mathematical order. Then, the storm hit. The dark green acid torrent slammed against the golden hexagons. The terrifying kinetic force was instantly dispersed and channeled across every single node of the shield. The massive barrier barely rippled before absorbing the impact. No failure, no collapse. Best of all, this shield was not powered by some ancient master or an expensive main reactor. It was fueled by tens of thousands of raw recruits working in perfect unison. On the bridge, the officers stood frozen in shock. The generals who claimed this would trigger a system meltdown stared at the data, speechless. Duan Hong fell silent, staring at the flawless hexagonal barrier. So, he murmured, energy can actually be used like this. Realizing its frontal assault was useless, the Zerg Hive ship slowly powered down its weapons and retreated back into the dark spatial rift. The crisis was over. As the shield dissolved, the barracks fell silent for a beat before erupting into a roaring wave of cheers. We did it. We actually held them off ourselves. Meanwhile, light years away, an alien spy ship hiding in the shadow of an asteroid recorded everything. The intelligence officer stared at the hexagonal energy readings, his voice trembling. Alert! Target civilization possesses advanced energy shielding. We cannot scan their defense matrix. Report immediately. Human technology is light years ahead of our estimates. Before you could even catch your breath, Duan Hong grabbed your arm. From this moment on, you are the chief technical advisor of the Pathfinder. Instantly, your personal terminal flashed as restricted security clearance cleared. Triple S-class zones of the ship were now wide open to you. Before you could even process it, Wang Hu came charging over, beaming. Advisor Su, you absolutely saved the entire ship. Elder Li shoved a handful of rare recovery pills into your hand, worried you had burned through your soul energy. but you skipped the celebrations. You did not care about your new status. Your mind was still stuck on your diagnostic report. You known the Pathfinder's real threat was not the bugs outside, but the horribly inefficient system rotting within. Armed with your new high-level clearance, you walked to the core alone. You expected to see high-tech marvels maybe, an antimatter drive, a fusion matrix, or some futuristic spiritual energy generator. But as the heavy blast doors of the main reactor slid open, a blast of hot, sweaty air, thick with medicinal herbs, hit you in the face. You froze. The sight before you instantly shattered any illusions of sci-fi grandeur. There was no reactor. Instead, you saw 200 colossal metal hamster wheels. Inside every single wheel, a young disciple was running for their life. They weren't training or practicing magic. They were literally running to power the ship. Their steps spun primitive gears, sending trickles of energy into pipes to keep the lights, gravity, and life support running. You stood there in stunned silence before turning to the manager. "Is this how you power the ship?" The manager sighed. "Yes. The elders must save their energy for combat. The ship is too heavy, so we have to use recruits in 3 8-hour shifts. The rest of their time is spent resting. They barely get any time to actually cultivate." Looking at these gifted kids wasting their youth on hamster wheels, your chest tightened. The cold, lifeless numbers in your diagnostic report suddenly became real. These weren't statistics, this was their stolen future. Trying to kiss up to you, the manager smiled. "Advisor Sue, for your personal travels, I can assign a team of disciples to carry your sedan. Very prestigious." You shook your head. "No. And starting today, we are done using human labor to turn these wheels." You walked away without another word. Anger was useless right now. You needed a solution. Back in your maintenance bay, you fired up your system, scanned the reactor, build a model, and analyze efficiency. Scan complete. Current human kinetic conversion efficiency is 0.3%, primitive and highly inefficient. You took a deep breath and ran another query. Analyze kinetic energy friction from space dust and stellar wind against the hull. Analysis complete. If we kill the cosmetic glowing effects and install absorption arrays, we can harvest enough energy to cover 80% of daily power needs. The issue was not a lack of power, but absolute incompetence in utilizing it. You grabbed some metal plates and draft paper, pulling mechanical engineering, gear ratios, and kinetic converters from your past life memories and merging them with local runes. The night grew darker, but your mind only grew sharper. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Elder Lee walked in, carrying a bowl of hot mushroom soup. "Sue, eat. You need to rest." You downed the soup and picked up a scrap metal toy from your desk. "Elder Lee, perfect timing. Watch this." You spun a large metal disc on the model, sending a tiny interlocking gear spinning at extreme speed. Lee blinked. "What kind of artifact is this?" "No artifact, just a gear train." You pointed to the teeth. "Big wheel turns the small one for speed. Small turns the big one for raw power. It is about mechanical leverage. Even with such weak spiritual energy, a few mechanical gears engaging caused a brilliant shift in the output." His eyes widened. This setup could make spiritual energy flow much smoother, but one critical bottleneck remained. You pointed to it. "Once the bearings run at high speeds, friction and heat will spike. Normal grease won't survive a spiritual energy environment. You need a stable lubricant." Hearing this, Elder Lee froze, then clapped his hands. He flipped his wrist and produced a freezing jade vial. 3-legged ice cicada saliva. It naturally thrives in high-heat spiritual energy environments, perfect for maintaining spiritual gear. Your eyes lit up, the physical structure and cultivation materials were set. Elder Lee had solved the final piece on the spot. That night, you and Elder Lee practically lived in the maintenance bay. You mapped out the structural ratios and gear logic, while Elder Lee handled the materials. Two completely different worlds, engineering and cultivation, joined forces for the first time. By dawn, a half-human tall spiritual energy machine finally stood quietly before you. Its core held dozens of interlocking gears inside a transparent shell for easy observation. Miniature spirit gathering arrays boosted key nodes, while the bearings were fully coated in 3-legged ice cicada saliva. The semi-automatic spiritual energy amplification circulation system, Unit 01, was complete. Without resting, you and Elder Lee carried it straight to the heaven-earth furnace. The supervisor looked nervous when he saw you, asking if it was going online. "Replace the power wheel with this?" He hesitated, but then Duan Hong's voice barked through the comms, ordering him to do it. Nobody dared delay. The old wheel was stripped away, and Unit 01 was connected to the power grid. Nearby, off-duty disciples crowded around, watching with nervous anticipation. You didn't use any rare spiritual stones. You just pulled a common, low-grade stone from your storage pouch and slid it into the slot. Click. The slot locked. In an instant, the smallest gear began to spin, driving the second, third, and fourth. Like an awakened spiritual clock, the entire system began running with perfect stability. No deafening roar, only the crisp, rhythmic, satisfying click of interlocking gears. In front of the control panel, the power output bar spiked. 1, 3, 10, 50, 80. Finally, under everyone's stunned gaze, it slammed into the maximum limit. A single low-grade spiritual stone, and this single machine's output power completely overwhelmed the entire daily shift of 10 chi refining disciples combined. A stunned silence gripped the furnace room before pure, long-repressed joy exploded. It worked. It actually worked. No more turning wheels. But just as the cheers erupted, the mothership suddenly blared a red alert. Warning, energy input overload on the number 3 storage array. Formation structure approaching critical threshold. Everyone froze. Nobody expected the Pioneer's first energy crisis wouldn't be a shortage, but too much power. On the bridge, the formation masters turned pale. Cutting it off would fail, and leaving it would destroy it. The array was too old for this sudden surge. Yet, you remained the calmest person in the room, seeing the issue instantly. It wasn't the machine, but the legacy system failing to handle this new efficiency. You had Elder Lee pop the casing, and you reached in to adjust key gear nodes, dialing down the peak output and redistributing the pulse frequencies. With a few crisp clicks, the machine's RPM smoothly stabilized. On the bridge, the warning indicators plunged, and the energy input settled perfectly at 90%, the sweet spot. The alarm went silent, the crew exhaled, and Duan Hong made the call immediately to start mass production. Replace every old wheel in the furnace room with this new system immediately. Furthermore, from this moment on, Advisor Su has maximum scheduling authority over all non-strategic energy systems on the mothership. In just half a day, the furnace room was completely transformed. All 200 manual rollers were gone, replaced by 200 brand new circulation machines. The young disciples, suddenly freed from their brutal shifts, stood in the open hall feeling utterly lost. For the first time in their lives, they had free time. Accompanied by Elder Lee and the supervisor, you stepped onto the stage and looked at their young faces. From today on, the old shift system is officially canceled. Silence fell. The power department is moving to an 8-hour workday. Equipment monitoring will be on rotation, but you only work 8 hours. Use your free time to cultivate, study, rest, or do what you actually want to do. You paused and added, plus 2 days off every week. The crowd finally broke. Some stood frozen as their eyes welled with tears. Some crouched down to wipe their faces, and others just stared at the quietly humming machines, unable to process it. They finally realized they weren't just cogs in a machine anymore. They had their cultivation time back and a real future. When the end of shift bell chimed on time for the first time, the young disciples, dressed in fresh robes, didn't just crash into bed. Instead, they lined up neatly in the corridor, bowing deeply as you walked by. "Thank you, Advisor Su," they said in unison. From that day, you had a new nickname whispered across the ship, Friend of the Base. In the living quarters, people would sneak spirit fruits they couldn't bring themselves to eat into your hands. Someone even hung a small sign outside your workshop. Technology changes lives. A week later, Duan Hong received some incredible data. Out of the 200 exhausted disciples, over 30 had already broken through long-standing cultivation bottlenecks. With rest, study, and cultivation restored, the ship's overall baseline strength was climbing steadily. Standing on the bridge, staring at the numbers, he sighed in relief. You hadn't just brought technology. You had breathed new life into a dying ship. A wave of optimism swept through the Pioneer, and a victory banquet was quickly planned. But the universe never stops just to let a civilization catch its breath. While every department celebrated the initial success of your reforms, a deep space monitoring station several astronomical units away picked up an anomalous signal. It wasn't cosmic background noise, but a perfectly stable, emotionless electromagnetic broadcast. A second later, this unencrypted transmission bypassed standard firewalls and broadcasted straight onto the bridge, echoing coldly in the minds of every officer. Unknown high-energy reaction detected, classified as artificial structure, initiating low-level logic scan in 3 minutes. A low-level logic scan, those words alone made the temperature on the bridge plummet. Duan Hong immediately called a top-priority emergency meeting. Inside the war room, he bypassed the pleasantries and pulled up the highest clearance files. Our supercomputer is a fake. What runs our core systems isn't actual hardware, but 3 elders using their minds. They manually sustain this system, The mechanoids aren't like the Zerg. They don't target armor or shields. They attack technical logic. If they scan us and find our supercomputer has no real machine code, but is actually a cultivation system rigged as a crude substitute, our technological cover is blown instantly. Silence fell. Everyone realized this wasn't a routine scan. It was a test of civilizational identity. Wang Hu immediately suggested raising shields to block the sweep. You shook your head. It won't work. If I'm right, this scan isn't standard energy. It is a rule-level observation. They don't need to break our defenses. They just want to see how we function. A spiritual shield only masks the surface, not the structure underneath. The room fell silent. Duan Hong stared at you, asking if there was any way. You nodded. Just one. Since they want logic, we'll give them logic. When they scan the outer arrays, we must feed a highly complex, self-consistent base code into their receiver. If we fool this scan, our secret is safe. The moment you proposed this, the room went dead silent. The cultivation masters looked at each other, their expressions completely blank. Is code like calligraphy? Do we copy it? I have decent handwriting. I could draw it, one said. You rubbed your temples. This wasn't a knowledge gap. It was a complete evolutionary divide. Duan Hong gritted his teeth for one last play. Go summon the Elder Guarding Array number 3. Have him use his soul force to mask the outer formations. Buy us every second. But before anyone could act, the comms officer rushed in, pale, gasping. General, it's bad. The Elder just went into deep seclusion. He said after taking that pill yesterday, he had a sudden epiphany and is breaking through. We can't wake him. The last backup plan in the room instantly crumbled. The 3-minute countdown was down to seconds. In the distance, the mechanoid's pure white scanning beam had already formed, slowly locking onto the Pioneer. Silence, panic, and cold sweat filled the air, but no one had a plan. Yet, in this moment, you found complete clarity. Looking at these 1,000-year-old masters who were utterly useless against computer code, you took a deep breath and stepped up to the main console. Commander, let me try. Duan Hong stared at you for a heartbeat, then nodded firmly. Give him access. Access granted. Main interface temporary write permissions authorized. You linked your personal terminal to the main interface through an adapter talisman, booting the system. Universal parsing and psionic transfer system online. A private holographic screen flickered to life before your eyes. In the final seconds, the alien scanning beam pressed against the ship's outer barrier. You calmly raised your hands over the virtual keyboard, typing a single line of code that nearly every programmer from your past life would recognize, and hit enter. The bridge went so quiet you could hear everyone breathing. The white scanning beam representing the mechanoid slammed into the Pioneer's outer shields. No explosion, no formation roar, just dead silence. Everyone braced for the worst, expecting the cover to blow, and the 3 elders holding the system together to be exposed to the alien sensors. But nothing happened. No, they didn't block it, Duan Hong muttered, staring at the console, his pupils shrinking. In his spiritual perception, the instant that beam touched the hull, billions of runic nodes across the Pioneer lit up simultaneously. These weren't traditional defense wards, nor did they follow known spellcraft. They looked utterly alien, yet obeyed a highly strict set of rules, weaving a massive logical maze across the ship. This algorithm covers the entire ship, the Chief Array Master shrieked. Such mastery requires the divine sense of a tribulation stage cultivator. Instantly, every eye in the room snapped to you, but you simply plugged in your personal terminal and tapped out a single line of code. Meanwhile, outside the bridge, that geometrically perfect machine probe was busy analyzing the data you just fed it. Reading the bottom layer logic, the first line said, while true. The machine AI paused. This was a loop with no exit. By standard protocol, it should have flagged this as invalid data. But the next second, a massive wave of code flooded in. If-else statements, go-to jumps, and recursive nested loops. To the AI, it felt like entering an infinite maze of mirrors. Every decision was a fork in the road, and every jump led to a new entrance. Yet, every single path was dragged back to the start. Its entire existence was built to analyze, but this logic was endless. Warning: logical paradox detected. Its CPU was pushed to the limit. Inside the bridge, everyone held their breath, staring at the external screen. 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds. Nobody expected that the steadily hovering probe would suddenly shudder, then start slowly spinning around its central axis. Spinning once, twice, faster and faster. Wang Hu watched, completely dumbfounded. What is that thing doing? Elder Li, is it losing balance? You said nothing, but sweat beaded on your forehead. Sure enough, a split second later, Gaps cracked open on the probe's surface, glowing. Overheat warning lights flared. The internal cooling system sprayed bursts of white steam. Its spin slowed down, finally grinding to a complete halt, drifting silently in space. Every light on its surface died. The system had crashed. The entire bridge fell into dead silence. Divine General Duan Hong slowly turned to look at you, struggling to find words. Advisor Su, did you just… Before he could finish, Wang Hu slapped his thigh. General, that thing is dead. Let me go fish it back. Duan Hong snapped out of his shock and nodded. Go ahead, be careful, Duan Hong said. You chimed in at just the right moment. Its defense and power systems should be completely dead. Just use an electromagnetic net. Everyone stared at you, dazed. That was a high-tech alien probe. Yet you made it sound like catching fish. Soon, the screen showed Wang Hu in his golden armor, deploying the net and easily scooping the probe inside. The crisis was resolved in a bizarre, quiet way. But before anyone even had time to celebrate, a major update came in. A communications officer rushed onto the bridge. General, we intercepted a transmission. Before the probe died, it sent an encrypted message back to its homeworld. Duan Hong ordered immediately. Put it on screen. A line of universal galactic language flickered to life in the center. Warning. Target civilization suspected of possessing an unspeakable causality law and defensive mechanism. Logic collapsed. Instantly, the bridge fell silent. The way everyone looked at you changed. There was relief, confusion, and a deep awe of your mysterious power. Wang Hu held his breath before finally blurting out, Advisor Su, did you just defeat that thing with causality? He voiced what everyone was dying to know. You shook your head helplessly. No, it is not that mystical. Think of it as a rigid soldier. You continued. I did not attack it. I just asked a question, telling it to count from 1 and never stop. So it literally kept counting. 2, 3, 4, devoting its entire mind to that task. Naturally, it had no time to do anything else. You pointed to the probe on the screen. That is a logic overload. The bridge was silent for a moment before someone chuckled. Instantly, the heavy tension vanished, and everyone burst into laughter. Wang Hu slapped his leg, grinning. That is it? Just counting? Just counting? But the chief array master grew incredibly excited. No! This is an invisible maze. It traps the enemy in an infinite loop until they collapse. Advisor Su, I shall call this the infinite loop formation. Your lips twitched. This was clearly. It was literally just an entry-level infinite loop. Yet, to these cultivation masters, it was an advanced formation capable of shaking civilizations. Soon, Wang Hu dragged the probe onto the bridge. Its diamond-shaped hull, perfect sleek lines, and internal structure were breathtaking. The tech was incredibly precise. Some generals suggested forcing it open to study, but you stopped them. Do not force it. Look for the maintenance port first. You knelt down, carefully feeling along the seams with your tools. With a click, a panel slid open. Inside were overheated, damaged circuits. You pulled out some spirit cleaning fluid and a small brush, carefully wiping away the grime. Duan Hong and the others stared. To them, this was a trophy. To you, it was a piece of technology to learn from. Suddenly, a backup power module inside the probe flashed with a deep blue light. A beam shot out, projecting a massive mechanical face in the center of the bridge. The face was made of countless silver geometric blocks, perfectly symmetrical and totally expressionless. It was the supreme main brain of the machine race. The bridge grew incredibly tense. Everyone channeled their spiritual power, bracing for a sudden fight. But to your absolute shock, when the giant mechanical face spoke, it did not threaten you. Instead, it was an incredibly respectful electronic voice. Respected civilization that commands the root of logic, we sincerely apologize for our offensive scanning. We request a peaceful dialogue. The entire bridge went quiet. They had invaded, got crashed by a simple loop, and were now politely apologizing. Duan Hong looked at you solemnly. Su Ming, you are the only one in the alliance who can understand them. You are up. Feeling completely helpless, you stepped to the main console and opened the channel. You were about to say hello, but the AI beat you to it. The machine face asked its first question. Respected sage, how did your civilization break the law of entropy to achieve a self-sustaining energy cycle within a closed system? The moment the word entropy was uttered, Duan Hong and the others turned their eyes to you. They had no idea what it meant, but they knew it sounded highly advanced. Your back was instantly drenched in cold sweat. You knew that entropy was a fundamental law of the universe. Isolated systems tend toward disorder. How on earth were you supposed to answer this? Saying you did not know would ruin your high-tech image. but explaining actual science to an alien AI while surrounded by magic-wielding cultivators who treated code as spells was impossible. As your brain raced, you noticed the spiritual energy circulating inside Wang Hu. A wild, brilliant idea hit you. Why use science? You could explain science using cultivation. You took a deep breath and spoke in a calm, steady voice. What your people refer to as entropy increase is known in our civilization as the dissipation of spiritual energy. Duan Hong and the others instantly beamed. Of course, spiritual energy dissipates, which is why we need gathering arrays. Advisor Su is a genius. Meanwhile, the machine mainbrain's data stream flashed at hyperspeed, matching the terms. Entropy equaled the dissipation of spiritual energy. You continued smoothly. Our solution is simple. From the start of their training, every individual in our civilization constructs a miniature energy core inside their body. We call this the Dantian. The data stream in the machine intelligence's eyes accelerated to a furious pace. Dantian equals miniature stable energy core. You kept a straight face, explaining. Through a guiding program we call the cosmic orbit technique, energy circulates endlessly between the Dantian and the meridian network. The meridians act as conductors, while the Dantian stores and regulates. This allows us to maintain orderly energy for incredibly long periods. Behind you, the Chief Array Master nearly jumped out of his seat. The Dantian as the furnace, meridians as the array. He has revealed the ultimate truth. The machine brain also completed its simulation. Cosmic orbit equals lossless internal circulation loop. Meridian network equals high-efficiency energy transfer system. Conclusion. This civilization has mastered individual-level renewable energy cycles. The electronic voice grew even more respectful. Could we request a physical demonstration of this? You turned to Wang Hu. General Wang, show them your high-energy plasma output. Wang Hu blinked, but quickly caught your drift. On it! He stepped into the center of the bridge, gathering spiritual energy. A second later, a perfectly stable burning ball of fire appeared. It cast a bright orange glow across the room. To the cultivators, it was just a basic fireball spell, but the machine brain instantly processed it as a different model. High-energy plasma source detected. Biological entity is directly converting internal energy into external force. Conclusion. Demonstration verified. The giant mechanical face remained silent for a long time. Finally, it spoke with deep solemnity. Respected civilization that commands both the root of logic and the source of energy. The machine race is willing to offer permanent mining rights to 44 ultra-rare mineral star systems. In exchange, we request the defensive code that disrupted our logical universe. Hearing this, everyone on the bridge went numb. 44 star systems, just to trade for your line of code? Everyone looked at you nervously. If you agreed too quickly, it might look suspicious. But you smiled faintly. That is not a weapon. It is just basic introductory code used by our children to learn logic. Wang Hu stumbled, almost dropping his fireball. The Chief Array Master gasped. A children's learning code? We could not even comprehend it. Ignoring their shock, you packaged the Wild True code alongside a self-test program adapted from a heart-clearing spell, sending them both to the machine brain. You may study the code, but it has a loop defect that can overload processors. I included this self-test patch to help optimize your systems. Causality source code received. Logical protection protocol received. The machine brain's massive hologram shuddered. This civilization shares advanced knowledge without demanding anything. Assessment. Extreme wisdom, supreme goodwill. The AI's digital voice fluctuated with emotion for the first time. The machine race hereby signs the Pan-Galactic Non-Aggression and Mutual Aid Treaty. From this moment, human civilization shall be our permanent ally and mentor. A golden contract made of glowing data streams materialized, bearing the names of both civilizations. The connections severed, and the giant mechanical face dissolved. Only the glowing golden treaty. You let out a long breath, finally realizing your back was soaked in cold sweat. General Duan Hong stepped forward, staring at the pact in disbelief. We allied with the machine race? Wang Hu charged over, lifting you into the air. Advisor Su, you are a hero to all humanity. Cheers erupted across the bridge. But just as Duan Hong was about to declare a ship-wide celebration, a blaring alarm shrieked. The communications officer ran in, face pale. General! An urgent directive from headquarters. To celebrate our new alliance and show our civilization's strength, headquarters orders the Pathfinder to host the Crystal Race delegation next week. We must hold an unprecedented cosmic military parade. The cheers died instantly, but Wang Hu's eyes lit up. A parade? Awesome! Show them our power. But Duan Hong's face darkened as he read. The Crystal Race worships absolute order and high-tech. They are incredibly powerful, extremely picky, and obsessed with flawless visual symmetry. Headquarters demands that this parade is absolutely perfect. We must showcase humanity at the absolute peak of cosmic technology. As those words ring out, everyone turns to Duan Hong. He steps up, pats your shoulder solemnly, and says, "Advisor Su, you are the only one who can direct this parade." But of all people, Wang Hu is the first to object. A grand parade is about raw power and dominance. Advisor Su is great at tech, but what does he know about style? With a wave of his hand, Wang Hu uses spiritual energy to summon a golden armor model. The design itself actually looks quite decent, but the armor is plastered with gaudy, colorful glowstones. A hologram of 9 dragons and 1,000 stars projects from its chest, while a magic thruster on its back spews glittering trails. Wang Hu says proudly, "Director Su, is this bright enough? Is this exhaust flashy enough for you?" Looking at that armor, which looks like it escaped from a sci-fi stage play, you cover your forehead in pain. This isn't high-tech aesthetics, it is cosmic light pollution. You take a deep breath and look at Duan Hong. "General, I need absolute command." Without hesitation, he gives it to you. You immediately order an emergency meeting to fix their terrible parade aesthetics. An hour later, in the strategic briefing room, you stand before the hologram screen. You project classic scenes from sci-fi movies and game trailers, cool-toned starship fleets and sleek geometric battleships, unified energy engines and disciplined space formations. Pointing at the screen, you explain. True advanced tech aesthetics is not about excess, but simplicity. It is not about piling up multicolored light effects, but a unified, cool-toned lighting scheme. Not complex decorations, but extreme minimalist geometric lines. This is ultimate simplicity. Wang Hu scratches his head. But this doesn't look festive enough. You counter. If thousands of armors form a perfect geometric matrix, with every movement perfectly synchronized, and every flash of light acting as one single entity, won't that sheer pressure be far more powerful than messy special effects? Wang Hu visualizes it and falls silent. The chief formation master claps his hands. "I get it. Director Su does not want individual flash, but the momentum of the array. Using formations to drive the parade." You nod. "So, step 1. Confiscate all privately installed, non-standard glowing devices, holograms, and exhaust trails." Wang Hu panics instantly. "Strip everything? Won't my armor look naked?" You bring up a spiritual energy wave simulation chart. These decorations have completely chaotic energy attributes. Individually, they are fine. But once hundreds of armors form a tight formation and maneuver at high speed, they will interfere, creating energy turbulence. At best, the formation breaks. At worst, cores overload, forcing emergency shutdowns. Hearing core overload, everyone instantly goes quiet. Duan Hong decides on the spot to confiscate and seal everything. With the aesthetic obstacles cleared, you officially begin designing the parade plan. Using your system, you translate the sci-fi concepts in your mind into executable formations. Based on 100-man squads, you use the armor shields to fine-tune their refractive indices, creating a unified optical effect. All armors will form a 3-dimensional matrix, executing geometric transformations through precise energy outputs. Each person's timing must be precise to the millisecond. When these instructions land on the soldiers' tactical displays, Wang Hu and the others stare at the power ratings, coordinates, and duration sol precise to 3 decimal places. They are completely dumbfounded. This isn't a parade. This is practically doing embroidery in space. With only 3 days until the Jing delegation arrives, the first fully armed rehearsal begins. In the Xingang training grounds, hundreds of armors, now stripped of their gaudy decorations, line up perfectly. Their engines hum with a deep rumble. Standing before the master control console, you press your communicator. All units, prepare for matrix transformation. Phase 1. Cube configuration. Begin now. However, the moment the words leave your mouth, an armor's engine screeches sharply. The next second, it bolts diagonally out of control, throwing the entire formation into chaos. Halt! Duan Hong's command rings out. The armor is pulled back to the ground, and the pilot explains, pale-faced, "It's not that I didn't try. During the transformation, my teammates' energy felt like a burning wall. My own energy couldn't get out at all. It was completely trapped in the core." Another officer adds, "I use water attribute techniques, but my neighbor uses blazing fire. As they closed in, my energy went completely haywire. For a moment, complaints erupt. Wang Hu walks up to you and whispers, "Director Su, is this plan too precise?" The boys are used to charging head-on. This level of delicate control is really hard for them. Duanhong stays quiet, but his eyes carry deep worry. Yet, you simply nod calmly. General Wang is right. As the crowd mutters, you walk back to the console and bring up the energy flow spectrum. This is my oversight. I only focused on unified commands, ignoring everyone's different cultivation attributes. Hearing your words, the grumbling officers actually quiet down. You point to the screen and continue, let me put it another way. Don't look at this formation as 100 soldiers. Think of it as a super composite array board made of 100 nodes. Wang Hu frowns. Nodes? You point to a red light. Fire attribute cultivators are amplification nodes, driving the energy output. You point to a blue light. Water attribute units are pressure stabilizing and cooling nodes, balancing the overall energy. Earth attribute ensures structural stability, and metal attribute handles energy conduction, while wood attribute handles transitions. The chief formation master's eyes light up. So we arrange them by the 5 elements generation cycle? It is much more than that. You shake your head. That cycle is like a series circuit. But sometimes we need a massive burst of output, which requires attributes connected in parallel. Wood and fire in parallel act as the power unit. Water in series acts as cooling. Earth builds the stable frame, and metal acts as the precision output terminal. As you speak, you rearrange the nodes. The system begins analyzing each participating soldier's energy attributes, peak power, and cultivation characteristics. In less than 10 minutes, a new formation map is generated. Meanwhile, everyone's tactical displays receive a detailed individual instruction. Wang Hu, armor number 007, fire attribute, coordinate X34, Y78, Z12, standby. 3.15 seconds after command delivery. Output energy at 73.4% power. Accept an 18% boost from wood node 006, then transfer it to earth node 015 within 1.2 seconds. Earth attribute node. Everyone's scalp tingles. This is no longer a parade instruction. It is a key refinement formula precise to the millisecond. After a brief silence, Wang Hu steps forward first. Brothers, let's trust Director Su one more time. Again, hundreds of armors soar into the sky once more. Realigning according to the new formation, the training grounds fall deathly quiet. Standing before the master control console, you take a deep breath. Matrix transformation, phase 1. Cube configuration. Begin now. The moment the words fall, the engines of hundreds of armors roar and incredibly. Their hums merge into one in an instant, turning into a low, stable, and unified frequency. Then, the armor group begins to move. No clashes, no turbulence. Every single armor behaves like a gear in a precision machine. Completing its position changes seamlessly. Wang Hu, inside his cockpit, clearly feels the wood attribute energy from his left flowing in, blending perfectly with his own fire attribute energy. Once amplified, it smoothly travels to the next node. The entire formation is like a giant machine brought to life. A cold, glowing, standard cube slowly takes shape in the cosmic training ground, steady as a rock. The command center falls into dead silence, then thunderous cheers erupt. Duanhong murmurs, "We actually succeeded, yet there is little joy on your face." You look at that perfect cube on the screen and speak calmly. Mechanical structure stability test passed. Immediately, your gaze falls on a row of brand new virtual buttons on the console. Now, begin the phase 2 test. Under everyone's expectant gazes, your finger slowly reaches toward one labeled Light and Shadow Matrix Master Switch. The essence of a parade isn't just neat formations, you whisper. The next second, you press it down. The instant you hit the master switch, the entire training ground seems muted. There is no blinding flash, nor any multicolored energy effects. Yet, in the next second, a purer, more harmonious engine resonance slowly rises over Shingang. On the surfaces of the hundreds of armors, their originally plain metal casings quietly light up with a layer of icy blue glow. The light is not blinding. Instead, it is restrained and cool, slowly seeping from the depths of the metal. It flows along the geometric lines, outlining every armor plate. From afar, it looks as though every suit is wrapped in a quantum membrane. Wang Hu was originally a bit disappointed, wondering if it was too understated. But the moment the words leave his mouth, his eyes widen in shock. In the cosmos, the giant cube of hundreds of armors suddenly begins to silently deconstruct every single armor, acting like a precisely controlled point of light. Moving along flawless trajectories, stretching, rotating, and reorganizing, a massive, perfect double helix structure suddenly appears in the dark void. Icy blue light streams cross and dance along its two strands, chasing each other, as if the deepest code of life in the universe is being visualized right before everyone's eyes. But this isn't the end. The next second, the double helix flows and merges again, turning into a twisted, endless Mobius strip. The light surges endlessly along the loop, carrying an orderly beauty of infinite recursion that makes everyone hold their breath. At the same time, you tap the master array board, launching a custom mini-program you built by adapting the principles of mirage illusions to project a three-dimensional star map. Behind the blue light matrix, a vast galaxy slowly unfolds. Countless stars drift as the stellar map rotates, and every transformation of the armor matrix looks like a dance in the starry river cold, mysterious, grand, and inviolable. This isn't a mere display. It is an overwhelming presence born from ultimate order and advanced technological aesthetics. This is true cosmic-level grandeur. In the command center, General Duan Hong stands up abruptly, repeating, "Good, good, good, great. This is exactly how our human civilization should look." The Chief Formation Master's eyes shine with excitement. Ultimate simplicity, so this is what it truly means. The other generals are completely awed, realizing for the first time that strength doesn't have to be golden light or swirling dragon shadows. True high-level power is unified, restrained, and precisia, calm confidence that controls everything without needing to show off. After the rehearsal ends, all armors slowly land, and every pilot receives a holographic playback of their performance. Wang Hu looks at the footage of the armor he piloted. As a single point of light within that grand matrix, moving flawlessly with the overall formation, a wave of unprecedented pride swells in his chest. Then, he thinks back to the colorful glowstones he had glued on, and the flashy exhaust trails, and his face flushes with embarrassment. It turns out true style isn't about being as bright as possible, but standing within the whole, becoming a part of the order. General Duan Hong's voice then rings across the ship. All hands, enter final preparations to welcome the Jing interstellar delegation with the highest honors. A thunderous roar of responses echoes through the spaceport. 3 days later, the Pathfinder hovers in the designated rendezvous sector. All participating armors form a massive circular guardian array, their icy blue light slowly pulsing in the cosmos, solemn and majestic. In the distance, space ripples. Next, a crystalline mothership, massive beyond imagination, silently leaps out of warp. Made entirely of pure crystal, its exterior looks like a giant gemstone, carved and polished over eons. Every facet of the diamond reflected the stars, brilliant but cold. Guided by the tractor beam, the Orem delegation entered the Pioneer. At the docking port stood a guard, nearly 3 meters tall, made entirely of translucent golden crystal, featureless but human-like. In outline, their bodies radiated the innate judging aura of a superior civilization. General Duan Hong and the top brass waited at the end of the red carpet, wearing polite, composed smiles. The Orem envoy swept his gaze over them, then glanced out the window at the blue planet, his thoughts broadcasted into everyone's minds via a translator. Your military display is acceptable. It possesses a primitive yet stable order. Duan Hong's smile twitched slightly at the backhanded compliment, but before he could utter his prepared welcome, the envoy pressed on. However, military might is just a surface trait. We value peacetime, internal order, and technological depth. Before formal talks, allow us to inspect your warship's ecological life support system. As the envoy finished speaking, the entire docking port fell deathly quiet. An ecological life support system? General Duan Hong's smile froze completely. Wang Hu looked utterly lost. As cultivators, they had long mastered inedia, surviving purely on spiritual energy. The ship did not even have a basic kitchen, let alone a complex life support loop. To make matters worse, the Orem envoy spoke again. A civilization unable to sustain its own energy and matter cycles in a closed environment is fundamentally immature. If you lack such a system, we must reevaluate the priority level of this diplomatic visit. The envoy's tone was calm, yet the weight of his threat was crystal clear. They were about to blow their cover right at the start. Cold sweat beaded on Duan Hong's forehead as he prepared to scramble for an excuse. But right then, you stepped calmly from behind him. Please, envoy, rest assured, you say calmly. Our ecological system is a highly classified bioengineering secret. To prevent any external contamination of our genetic database, it must undergo a 5-minute cross-sterilization cycle with gamma rays before opening. The Orem envoy's crystalline body pulsed with light. Sterilization. A logical safety protocol. We shall wait. Keeping your smile, you lock eyes with him and order our specialty tea to be served to our guests. But the envoy flatly declines. Our species absorbs light energy. Your smile never wavers. My oversight. I will personally supervise the sterilization then. Before anyone can react, you spin around, grab the dazed Wang Hu, and shoot a sharp look at Duan Hong and Elder Li. General, Elder Li, Lu Cheng, we need multi-element spiritual energy. Everyone, follow me. Before they can protest, you drag Wang Hu out of the docking bay. Sprinting beside you, Wang Hu asks in confusion, Consultant Su, where are we going? No time to explain. You open your personal terminal and pull up the schematics. A red dot flashes frantically in the lowest corner of the ship's layout. Target: Warehouse 7, Storage Room 3. Sprint. A few minutes later, you burst through the heavy doors of Storage Room 3. But what greets everyone's eyes is not military supplies, but a lush, vibrant spirit herb garden. Bizarre plants of all shapes grow inside pots made from discarded magical artifact shells. Some look like giant radishes glowing with soft white light, while others resemble orchids with fiery energy pulsing through their leaves. In the corner, an emerald vine climbs the wall, its jade-like leaves translucent. Elder Li blushes, clearing his throat. Well, space travel is tedious. This old man was bored, so I planted a few things to pass the time. Wang Hu's eyes widen. You call this just planting a few things? He gasps. But your eyes light up. This is not just a garden. It is a literal lifesaver. You instantly start barking orders. Wang Hu, tear down those isolation hoods. Elder Li, grab some blank jade slips and cinnabar brushes. General, switch the lighting array to a cold, sterile white. Though completely baffled, they follow your lead. Within minutes, transparent isolation hoods cover the herbs. White bedsheets are hastily draped over them like lab coats, and magnifying glass artifacts are laid out, and recording pens clutter the table. You grab a cinnabar brush and write on the hood of a snow-white ginseng, high-energy biomass concentration storage unit. Serial number: Truth 001. Wang Hu peers over, his jaw dropping. Is not this Elder Li's 100-year snow ginseng? From now on, you reply calmly, it is the core sample of our biointelligence conversion matrix. 5 minutes flash by. Guided by Duan Hong, the Orem delegation arrives. The heavy metal doors slide open, and a soft white light bathes the entire room. Rows of transparent hoods sit neatly in lines, each sealing a bizarre botanical specimen. Each container is labeled with highly professional, mysterious codes. Several cultivators, hastily dressed in white sheets, are intensely analyzing the plants with magnifying glass artifacts and recording data onto jade slips. The Orem envoy pauses at the entrance, falling silent. This is your genetic database? You nod with a polished smile, gesturing toward the snow ginseng. Envoy, what you see here is a core component of our ecological loop. We call it the biointelligence conversion matrix. This specimen, code Truth 001, can absorb stray cosmic radiation in void environments and convert it into high-purity biological energy that carbon-based lifeforms can instantly digest and utilize. Duan Hong and the others twitch at your explanation. Is not this just Elder Li's prized snow ginseng? Yet, the Orem envoy takes it entirely seriously. He glides over to another herb with fiery veins. According to basic biology, plants absorb light. Why does this one release heat? Wang Hu panics. This is pyre grass, naturally hot and used for alchemy. How do you explain that? Yet, far from panicking, you maintain absolute composure. You even flash an appreciative smile at the envoy's observation. An excellent question, you reply. This is a major breakthrough in our biotechnology. It is actually a reverse photosynthesis organism, codenamed IGNES-007. We modified it to convert absorbed raw energy and emit the excess as stable heat and light. In extreme planetary colonies, these plants provide essential heating and illumination, serving as a critical node in our ecosystem. Your words leave even Elder Li speechless. He stares at his pyre grass, suddenly wondering if his hobby really is that revolutionary. Caught up in the moment, Elder Li grabs a magnifying glass and acts the part. He inspects a nearby mushroom. Cap expansion is normal. Spore activity is at 73.4%, well within parameters. Wang Hu barely resists giving him a thumbs up. The Orem envoy's light pulses softly as his tone relaxes. Using biology for environmental terraforming is indeed a unique technological path. Striking while the iron is hot, you point toward the slowly spinning spirit-gathering array vent on the ceiling. This is a molecular-level air filtration and spiritual energy enrichment system. It filters microdust and harmful forces while concentrating liquid energy that is beneficial to life, dispersing it evenly throughout the entire warship. His skepticism transforms into genuine curiosity. How does your civilization perform genetic sequencing and trait optimization? You smile inwardly. This plays right into your hands. In cultivation, We call this bloodline tracing and Dow physique screening. So, using traditional theory wrapped in scientific jargon, you explain our methods. The envoy's body flashes rhythmically as the atmosphere warms up. But out of nowhere, disaster strikes at the very back of the garden, where a plant stands completely unshielded. An emerald jade-like vine creeps up the wall, its leaves radiating pure, dense life force. This is Elder Lee's most prized 10,000-year everlasting green spirit vine. The instant the Aurum envoy steps within 3 meters of it, the vine stirs. Swaying without wind, it releases a wave of soft green light. Instantly, the envoy's massive crystal frame trembles. Warning: energy loop conflict. Void resonance. Fragmented panic blasts into everyone's minds as bright red warning signs erupt across the envoy's skin. His golden crystals flash frantically as his internal energy destabilizes. Instantly, his 2 bodyguards step forward into defensive stances, deploying crystal blades from their arms to shield their leader. Explain this threat immediately, they demand, freezing the room. Wang Hu and the others instinctively step forward, channeling their spiritual energy. Nobody move, you bark. The low command freezes everyone in their tracks. You rush to the envoy's side and kneel, activating your personal terminal. The holographic screen projects in front of you, scanning target lifeform structure. Silicon-based crystal lattice core. Warning: high-frequency photon resonance. Incompatible radiation particles detected in target system, causing severe resonance conflict in the energy loops. Severe disruption to the core energy loop. Analogy analysis. 90. 2.7% match to chi deviation in cultivation systems. You realize what is happening. Traveling through deep space, these Aurum have accumulated massive amounts of cosmic radiation. Usually, it remains stable, but the raw life force of the 10,000-year vine disrupted the delicate balance. The guards' thoughts pulse with sheer panic. This is evolutionary decay, our people's ancient genetic curse. Once triggered, it is irreversible. Elder Lee scrambles to pull out a spiritual pill. Consultant Sue, I have a life-restoring pill right here. You raise a hand to stop him. It is useless. They are silicon-based lifeforms. Our medicine will not work and might even kill him. You stare at the green vine, scanning the terminal for answers. Solution: target contains chaotic radiation impurities. The pure wood attribute life energy from the everlasting green spirit vine can be utilized to neutralize and clear the internal blockage. You turn sharply to Elder Lee. Is there a rejuvenation array under this garden? He nods. A high-grade one. It refines the purest wood attribute energy. Crank it to maximum, Elder Lee gasps. That will overload the herbs. We have no time. You snap. You look at General Duan Hong. Man the array's core personally. Direct all energy toward the envoy. Duan Hong does not hesitate. He moves like lightning, activating the controls. Instantly, ancient runes across the floor flare up with majestic wood attribute spiritual energy. The energy surges from all sides, swirling into a violent green vortex. But you frown. Too aggressive. This will only worsen the internal conflict. You quickly interface with the array, taking partial control of the energy flow. You activate the spiritual fluid dynamics module, mapping the pressure fields to calculate the safest path. Before everyone's disbelieving eyes, the violent green storm dissolves into billions of gentle green particles. Floating peacefully in the air like fireflies, they hover without violent impact, carrying only pure, stable life force. With a flick of your finger, you guide them. The floating green light transforms into a soft breeze, blowing gently over the Aurum envoy. No energy clashes, no explosions. The green mist sinks into his crystalline skin like gentle rain. A miracle unfolds before your eyes. The red warning spots fade, and his frantic pulsing steadies, dumbfounded. The 2 guards slowly lower their crystal blades. Watching this incredibly gentle, hyper-precise bioenergy channeling, Duan Hong, Wang Hu, and Elder Lee held their breath. Time ticked by. As the final green spark dissolved into the crystal envoy's body, all red blemishes on his skin vanished. Wang Hu was about to sigh in relief when the envoy suddenly convulsed, collapsing backward like a puppet with cut strings. Bang! He hit the floor, all his light fading into dull yellow stone. Dead silence filled the room. Elder Lee's voice shook, asking, Advisor Sue, is he? Wang Hu's heart sank, and the 2 crystal guards stepped forward defensively. Yet, in that split second, the fallen crystal envoy's body shuddered. At his chest, a point of blinding golden light flared like a newborn star, illuminating his entire translucent frame from within. A long, deep energy breath echoed directly inside everyone's minds. The crystal envoy slowly rose. His golden crystal body was now more transparent than ever. Every crystalline lattice stood out in sharp relief as energy flowed flawlessly through them in a perfect cycle. For the first time, his mental waves pulsed with excitement. No impurities, zero resistance. Is this the legendary perfect crystal state? The next second, he snapped his head up. My essence decay, it is cured. Completely cured. The two crystal guards bowed in their highest salute, their mental waves overflowing with shock and gratitude. A miracle. Thank you, savior of our race. Then, the envoy walked up to you, fist to chest, bowing deeply. Lord Su Ming, your wisdom is a guiding star. You saved me and gave our race hope. You just gave the calm smile of a programmer who fixed a bug. Don't mention it. Your biology just happened to sync well with our energy field. The envoy was visibly stunned by your modesty. To him, a breakthrough solving a crisis of tens of thousands of years was dismissed by you as a fluke. He saw this as the ultimate humility of a superior civilization. Turning to General Duan Hong with absolute solemnity, the envoy declared that to show gratitude and cement their friendship, the Crystal Council would unconditionally gift the Human Alliance 3 resource-rich star systems located in the Andromeda Beta 7 sector. They also offered to forge a maximum-tier bloodline covenant for eternal brotherhood. Instantly, the entire command channel exploded in absolute disbelief. 3 strategic mining star systems. Those areas produced critical materials like astral gold and void gold. Even better, they had initiated the highest treaty themselves. General Duan Hong stood speechless with excitement, while Wang Hu stared at you, wondering how many secrets you kept. The remaining negotiations went unbelievably smoothly. After witnessing a grand holographic military parade, the Crystal delegation highly praised human order and artistry. Before departing, they repeatedly invited you to visit their homeworld. The entire Pathfinder vessel erupted in celebration. The Supreme Command decided on the spot to award you the Guardian of Humanity medal, even planning to promote you to Dean of the Academy of Sciences. However, you declined. I will accept the medal, you told them, but I will pass on the promotion. I like the freedom of an advisor. General Duan Hong smiled. Name your reward then. After a moment, you laughed and said, well, if you insist, give every low-level cultivator and technician on the Pathfinder project an extra 7 days of New Year leave. Everyone has worked so hard. The command room fell silent. Then, the brass looked at you with deep, genuine respect. The mothership returned to its routine, but the vibe had completely changed. In his quarters, Wang Hu hummed a tune over spiritual peanuts and fine monkey wine. Meanwhile, Elder Li lay comfortably inside his main maintenance pod. Soaking in spiritual currents, his ancient spirit vine was thriving like never before, under the life essence gifted by the crystal race. Out on the plaza, young disciples sparred happily, their faces glowing with immense pride and confidence. But you skipped the victory party. You stood alone in the massive Mecca hangar, gazing out at the endless starry sea with a gentle smile. You had no desire for power or glory. You just wanted to use your knowledge, so you and your loved ones could live with comfort and dignity. Protecting this hard-won peace was enough. You ran a hand over the cold armor as your system terminal flashed a screen only you could see. Congratulations, host, on resolving a major diplomatic crisis and securing interstellar peace. Reward: 100,000 civilization points. Your virtuous deeds align with system values. Unlocking new science module. You were about to check the new feature, but the entire interface suddenly flared into brilliant gold. Ancient, divine characters you had never seen before began to materialize. Warning: high-dimensional distress signal detected. Signal source: unknown cultivation. Earth. Connect? Your smile slowly froze. You let out a wry laugh, whispering to yourself, well, it looks like this programmer's overtime shift has only just begun.